Good morning. Welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. I'm Bob Brown, and I am surrounded by, or at least visually or electronically, by some wonderful human beings that are here to talk to you about wonderful things. We are. This is B Cube Sunday morning, if you were curious, and so Phil, I am going to defer to you to make introductions and get this thing going while I go check on the feed quality.
Okay. Well, welcome. Most of you know me as Irene Radford from my books, but I edit and do nonfiction with my full name. And anyway, today our guest is Nancy Jane Moore from the Bay Area. And I've known Nancy for probably close to 20 years. And she's a transplant from Texas to California. And we won't talk about Texas. Bob is also from Texas. Anyway, she's a retired lawyer, a martial artist, a writer of fiction and nonfiction, and a political activist. And most of what I've read of your work is very pro-feminist.
Yes, you could call it. You can definitely call it feminist.
I'm trying to be polite, and don't always succeed. But she has some of the most kick-ass heroines who really do kick ass correctly, because she's done it. And we're going to talk about all these demanding life choices you have. And so, Claire, give us your two-sentence introduction.
Okay. I'm C.L. Cagney. I write weird literary science fiction. I had an article on neuroscience and aliens in PlanetSide recently, and I'm excited to hear from Nancy because I am attempting to learn the art of juggling many attention-demanding pursuits. So.
And Brenda, your 2-second introduction or whatever.
I'm Brenda Clough, and I'm an overly prolific novelist, and I write science fiction, fantasy, historical fiction. And I'm really sorry to admit this, but this year I got sucked into writing a romantasy, and this is as X-rated a thing as I've ever written. I feel really kind of worried about it, but you just have to go with the flow here. There's nothing I can do. Soft core porn, here we come.
Yeah.
Hey, there seems to be a market for it. So,
well, yeah. It did just sort of occur to me that if I could make a disgusting fortune before I die, that would not be a bad thing. It's some really irritating sum of money. This would not be unpleasant.
Yeah, you should try reading my first Merlin book. It's for inspiration.
Is it X-rated? How X is it?
It's just above R.
Okay. Yeah, I'm shading well on past. I forget whether there's something past R, but before you get to X. But I'm hovering in that territory, and I feel kind of nervous about it. Oh, and I should say that I'm writing this thing in Shakespeare land, and so I'm sucking on that full English major thing. Hamlet. Not Othello, but The Tempest. So we're doing a lot of good things, and somewhere deep inside of me is a girl with an English degree who says, "Finally, we can discuss, Hamlet's family's dysfunctionality." Yes.
I got into quite a discussion with Sarah Stamey, who used to be an English professor, and about the modern remake of Much Ado About Nothing with Josh Whedon.
Oh, newer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. And she couldn't buy the virginity cult that is so prominent in that Yeah, a woman of good character has to be a virgin when she gets married.
Well, there is a. We're gonna. I don't think we should get sucked into that because you could get really deep into this.
Right.
I really want to talk to Nancy. Nancy, do you want to talk about virginity or not?
Virginity is not one of my strong suits.
Okay, you see.
It's
Okay.
awfully far in my past.
All right. Yeah. Well, email Sarah Stamey if you're really interested in that,
Yeah,
in
I'm gonna. In fact,
discussing
we
that.
should get her on. We could get her to talk about virginity. That would be great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Nancy, I want to hear about the work you've been doing with Vonda's stuff. How did you get raked into that?
Well, I'm not raked into it too much, but I have the book here.
Ooh,
Uh,
this is her
uh,
new book.
this is Vonda's last book, and wherever I move, and it's probably reversed, and um,
No,
Actually, it's not reversed.
yeah, I
not
don't know how that
good.
happened, but
Yeah.
it is about Crete and the Mediterranean, and it's
Yeah.
a historical. Am I right?
It's historical. It has a certain amount of fantasy element of it. If Vonda was here, I know she would call it uh, uh, science fiction set in the past,
Yes.
because Vonda wrote science fiction. But
Yeah.
it's a projection of what people's lives might have been like, and it's really a wonderful mix of cultures because the main character in this book is a person who is sort of an ambassador to other places, and so she goes to Egypt and she meets with people who sound very much like our traditional idea of the Amazons, and then there are these pirates, these northern pirates that are a problem, and then they go traveling, and they literally go from the Mediterranean um, to where we are right where in fact where you all are right now, where Brenda in particular is right now, pretty much the coast of
Oregon?
right along where the Columbia hits the Pacific.
They are
It's
not
a
kidding when they say
Astoria.
that Portland is a city that it created around a bookstore. That sounds very, very Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for a bunch of Cretans to visit.
yes, it would. And at any rate, it's before Vonda died, she had asked me. I was one of the people she asked to critique it. So I had read it. I read it early on, and made some comments, and then we've been waiting for somebody to publish it, and the big houses passed on it, and I think we sort of figured out why. It's because it's a complex book. It doesn't fit real neatly into any particular genre,
Mhm.
and so Aqueduct was willing to publish it, and Timmy DeCamp is just an incredible editor. But what she did was she's used to working with an author, and of course Vonda's gone, and so she hired Nisi Stahl to actually step in for Vonda and try to guess what Vonda would have said to this reaction or that reaction. So they put it together that way. And in terms of that, then Debbie Notkin ended up copy editing it because she had promised Vonda she would copy edit it. I mean, there's been a lot of people involved in it. There's a bunch of other people who read it besides me. And what happened is basically, Vonda's not here to promote it. If everybody who ever knew Vonda knows, she's the person who was out there helping everybody else, right?
Yes.
I went to her memorial service, and I don't know how many people got up and said, Vonda did this for me when I was nobody. Vonda did this for me. Vonda did that for me. And I've got my story. So I felt like, well, anywhere we can, we should be promoting this book. It's a really fascinating book. I mean, it's a really great speculation on various ways people might have lived 3,000 years ago, and the characters are really compelling, and what they're trying to do and how they fit it into their culture. I mean, it's not. It's hard to describe. It doesn't feel quite. It's not like it's an adventure story, but not just an adventure story, at all. There's so much depth there, and the depth is as much what it drives it more even than the plot, in my estimation, is, oh no, we're meeting these people. They live like this. How do we balance with that? Are they dangerous to us? Are they people we should know? How it and because of the point of view character is very much uh, driven that way to get along with people and work with them, you really get a real interesting perspective on it. And to me, that was just the sheer pleasure of it. Anyway, a group of us got together for virtual WisCon and read from it. We're trying to do the same thing in World Fantasy. I know that in Seattle, Nisi has put and Timmy have put together some group readings. We're just trying to get it as much publicity as we can without having an author here to do the pushing. So um, that's why I'm real excited about it. I wanted to see it years ago. Um, it's a sort of book that it's a sort of groundbreaking type book that people ought to read.
I'm going to be at World Fantasy, and you know what I think we should do is pick out a section, and we should have a reading.
Yeah, I hope I put that in as a suggestion.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard back yet, but I mentioned it to Rena, who's running things, and I think so. That's what we did at WisCon. It was me, Andrea Hairston, Debbie Notkin, and Madeline Robbins each read a section of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd be happy to help. Vonda's did a lot of copy editing on my books. She was amazing.
Vonda,
the other idea is that I don't know if Aqueduct's going to have a table there, but I think that they should roll around with copies, if possible, to WorldCon and World Fantasy and sell the puppers.
Well, I hope they are. I hope they're going to have a table there. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's a big investment for a publisher, but this is one moment when they have a real bite at the apple, so that it's something to consider.
Yeah. I don't know. They're so small and they've got that. And they're really great at putting out really great books, and the business, the getting to all the conventions and stuff when there's only really basically 2 or 3 people doing everything. It's really hard.
Well, at those 2 conventions alone, I don't speak to any of the others, but at least at WorldCon and World Fantasy, they've got a couple of boots on the ground they can call on, like you and me.
Yeah.
So, we could rake in there, and, if they need people to man the table, we could man the table.
Well, I know at WorldCon, I know there's some other people down in LA that they published who would gladly do it.
Yeah. So if they are willing to do that, the only thing with WorldCon is that it's pretty soon. It's in 1 month. So I'm not sure
if they haven't done anything, it's probably too late to do anything.
World Fantasy. Think.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And if they can't do it, there's things we could do even in a totally ad hoc way,
Well, if we get copies of the books, I know we can get local people to carry them in the dealer's room.
Right. That is the absolute minimum. Books, paper books into hands.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. It's actually thrilling that even though Vonda is gone, she is so present in our minds that this is a natural. I feel that we just, and I'm going to post this right now into the chat, but this is another easy thing that everyone watching this right now can do. You have a public library card. Pop over to your public library's website right now and log on to the website and request the book. You might want to hold up the title again, Nancy. So
it's The Curve of the World, and let me put in the chat. I'll put in the chat the link to Aqueduct's.
Right, but with the title and the author, your library can order it in. If you, the library card holder, request it, that's a win-win for everybody. They'll either order the book or not. Your library system adores getting requests from their borrowers, because they can go to the county or the city and say, "Oh my God, look at all these requests. People need our services. You need to fund us more." Everyone is happy to do this. There's no downside. It costs you, the reader, nothing. You can do it while you sit here. So everybody's happy, and so everyone should do it.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning. I'm just remembered to turn on my chat window so I can see all the comments. First one up was Charles Smar and says he's ordered it.
Good.
I was trying to add to that, but I can't seem to.
You post it over on private chat and have Bob post it on the public chat.
Okay.
That way he can double check links and whatnot.
Just with the title and the author, the librarians can hack it, because Vonda is not exactly an unknown object in the world of letters.
Right.
It'll kick right up, and they can do this. And if people request it, the librarians might or might not get it in. That does you no harm at all.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know Vonda or haven't had the privilege of meeting her at least once in your life, she's best known for her Star Trek stuff.
The tie-ins.
Yeah. But she's written a lot of really fine science fiction and fantasy, both short and long. And she was a founding member of the Bookview Cafe, which Brenda and I are still members of. Nancy was for a while. And that's how, I met Vonda, and she was a treasure.
She was one of the really hardworking people. If you're starting an organization like that, you need people who are known and recognizable, and then you've got a whole lot of worker bees down at the bottom who nobody recognizes because we're just too not that well known. But Vonda was willing not only to be up there in the front, but she did work in the trenches. It was really impressive.
Right, and she convinced Ursula K. Le Guin to become a member. And Ursula was not very active, but all we really needed was her name on the masthead.
Right.
But I only met Vonda in person once, but we had a very active email acquaintance. As she tried to teach me the niceties of preparing a manuscript before it went to format. And
she was so good at that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was the one who came through and explained how it was a sin to have an extra space at the end of every paragraph.
Oh,
things that it had never occurred to you that this was deeply offensive.
Yeah, and I still, when I copy, edit, proofread, whatever, I still eliminate all those extra spaces, especially at the end of a paragraph. And people come back and say, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that anymore. The software takes care of it." I'm sorry. I had my hand slapped by Vonda McIntyre, too many times.
No. It is a sin. She said so, and I believe it.
Yes. And she commented once that 2 spaces between the terminal period and a paragraph mark required 17 lines of code to justify.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so even if your software says, "Oh, don't worry about that," it does. Behind the scenes, it does matter. And so I still point it out to all the people I copy edit for.
Very, very good.
The thing of it is, if you read ebooks these days, and I read the easiest way to get books from my library. I don't even have to walk up the street. So many of them have so many little formatting errors in them because nobody's paying that kind of attention. They divide. Their rules on dividing words that come inconveniently at the end of the line are absurd. And it's just, if you know how to do that, I was never very good at the formatting side myself, but if you know how to do that, you can't, I think that's what this fake AI stuff is showing us, is that, you can't trust the software to do it right.
Yeah. I'm really into Sasquatch stuff right now. We'll talk about my Sasquatch book for Sunday in October. But anyway, because I hang out with Squatchers,
Oh my God, there's a noun, squatchers.
Yeah. We pass books around, and nonfiction as well as fiction. And there was one out of North Carolina. I cannot remember the author's name because I read a print copy. And one thing that a lot of people, old timers as well as beginners, they don't realize that with old typewriter style, what you see is what you get. You run it through a computer to format it for print on demand or ebook. That's not what you see on the screen, is not what you get in the formatted book. And I'm talking about one word on a page from the middle of a paragraph, and then it's a new page to pick up the rest of the paragraph kind of thing.
For a while, there was this platform war going on where Kindle and Nook were both using different proprietary formatting language so that each other's books would show up really ugly on their devices. I think that's over now, but for a while, you couldn't format an ebook to look good on both devices. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Formatters deserve medals, It's not something that is in any way easy, and it amazes me that people can do it at all.
Yeah. But anyway, the point I was making is this guy's writing nonfiction, anecdotal, personal experience kinds of things. And it was so badly presented that I lost any faith in his credentials as an author.
Yeah, you can fuck it up enough to the point where people will just say, she must be an idiot.
Yep.
Yeah.
No one would go out in the world like this.
And it's like finding a historical error in a history book.
Right.
You lose faith in their credentials.
Right.
And that's what Vonda taught me.
I feel that this is like a whole bunch of extremely smart women. We're sitting here all with gray in our hair, except for Claire, thinking about wise things and passing it on.
Yeah. And that's kind of how Bookview Cafe started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, look, what are you holding here?
This is my Jean Gamal made this after Vonda died. Saint Vonda. It's a votive candle to Vonda. So it's blessing us this morning. I keep it by my chair.
Oh, what a good idea.
Yeah.
There is a wisdom, that we don't even have to physically know each other,
Yeah. Brenda and I have gotten to know each other since she's moved to Portland, and she's only 40 miles away from me. So we do occasionally meet up. We traveled to Seattle by Amtrak a year ago.
Oh, the WorldCon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, because of physical proximity, we've gotten to know each other. I've met Nancy in person 2, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, at some conventions. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Clare this year. Yay!
Yeah.
What was that? But it is it's like science fiction is alleged to be a boys' club, but I think that there's a powerful sisterhood in it of women. I've never met Ursula Le Guin, but now I'm living in her hometown, and I just feel that we do the same things.
Yeah. Can I tell a cute Vonda story or Ursula story?
Yes, you should.
Okay. It was a Nebula weekend where somewhere bizarre. Published authors, agents, editors, award nominees, whatever, gather for a big banquet. And so SFWA, Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America, organized autograph sessions in a number of cities around the country for local people who couldn't make the Nebula banquet. And they asked Ursula And she said, only if it's at my neighborhood bookstore and I don't have to travel more than 2 blocks. So it's 23rd Avenue Books, independent bookstore. The line for her to sign books, because she did not do many autograph sessions, the line was more than around the block.
I love it.
One man had flown in that morning from Chicago with 2 suitcases full of books. He flew back on the red eye that night, but he had books written by Ursula to be signed. The rest of us that were at the signing were sitting around chatting, whatever, and we were talking about the movie Dogma and how well cast it was. Alan Rickman.
Mm-hmm. Alan Rickman is an ornament.
And we mentioned how perfectly cast he had been as the voice of God, because if God spoke, shatter our eardrums. So anyway, someone said the name, and Ursula perked, looked right at us and said, "Are we going to see an Alan Rickman after this?" Okay, so out come the cell phones and the internet on the laptops and whatnot. I'm looking to see if any theater in the Portland area had an Alan Rickman film. Unfortunately, we didn't.
No. And unfortunately, he's passed away, so there will be no more.
Yeah, but that was one thing that could get Ursula unfocused from her audience. So that's my Ursula story. I think I met her 2-3 times over the course of the years, but only because I live near Portland.
Mm-hmm. So Nancy, what else are you doing besides grinding around and pushing Vonda's book?
Well, I'm supposedly working on a sequel to For the Good of the Realm, which I keep working on, but I get slower. Unfortunately, I think of myself as a fast writer, but that's for turning out short things. Novels, I have found I can't do it like Brenda does. I do it in chunks. But I do have a writer's retreat coming up in September, and hopefully, I'm hoping to have a little bit larger chunk of it available for then, so I can start ordering it. The messy middle is killing me. But actually, one of the things, and given that B Cubed gets into pushes into the political from time to time, one thing I'm doing that people who are listening to this might be interested in is I'm working with a group called Unbreaking, and the website is unbreaking.org. I'll see if I can get that in the chat too. And what we're doing is documenting the damage that's being done to the country, everything from infectious disease. I'm working mostly with data security.
Very good.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff on the grants to institutions. There's just a ton of different areas of working. There are about 100 people volunteering on it. So it's a huge thing. It grew out of the people who did the COVID tracking project. So it came out of the people in the sciences, really. And it occurred to me, I joined up thinking, well, I can write, I can edit, and then it dawned on me that I have this superpower. I can look at a pleading from a lawsuit or a docket from a lawsuit, and I can tell you what's going on and whether or not it's important. And so I've been focusing mostly on the legal stuff because, I did that to make a living for years. I read a whole lot of court opinions and I looked at a whole lot of dockets, and I understand how the system works. Even if I don't know that area of the law very well, I understand how the system works. And so that's what I've been focusing on. And right now I'm actually working on and we have to write this stuff so short. So it's like I'm sitting here and I'm reading a 30-page opinion because I'm going to read the opinion if I'm going to tell you something about a legal case. And then I've got to write 1 sentence, maybe 2. And I'm trying to come up with about 3 or 4 sentences right now on what's going on with the whole effort to screw up mail-in voting.
That is so irritating.
It is, but it's still they're just procedural games going on right now, and it may not amount to much in the end, but that's why I want to try to reassure people, but also make sure it stays at the top of people's being aware of it.
Mhm.
So that's, it was really useful to me, and that maybe this gets into the discussion we were having earlier about how do you juggle things. Is um, you know, I was I mean, last year, I was confronted with, well, what do I do? How do I deal with all this chaos that's going on in the country? I can show up at the marches and stuff, but that doesn't feel like I'm doing much. And I found this group where, it's got a skill that I happen to have, skills that I happen to have that are useful. It's a huge,
Mhm.
it's a well organized thing. So it's not like I have to do everything. I do my little piece and other people do their little piece. And it sort of made me feel like, well, I'm doing something constructive. And that leaves, then if I'm more, I'm also involved in a couple of things here in the Bay Area that are more local building things, which is a completely different kind of stuff, but it's also necessary for the future. I mean, when we get out of this chaotic period, we're going to have to, we're going to be needing to build more systems. So, but I'm trying to, and that's where I'm getting to. That is, it's in terms of, you need to put some kind of finite rule on what you do if you're going to do a bunch of different things. And you need to say, okay, so, I spend a few hours a week doing this. Um, uh, and, and everybody knows that who's in the group. So, we're publishing this week, and, it's like I went in and said, well, I'm going to write up these things because, 3 of these things I can do practically in my sleep. The biggest trick is to just say, and make sure I got the links right. But, there's the Department of Justice has been suing states trying to get their voter rolls. And so far, the courts have ruled in 19 of the 30 cases and said, no, you can't have those. Which, which, those are, I know what the court's going to say on those. So that's good. But let's, um, well, maybe we should talk a little bit about how do you do that balancing thing, because I was never any good at it personally. So I don't know if anybody else has any ideas. I mean, I'm not rich and I'm not famous, and so the only way to make a living and write was to write on the side and have a day job. And I finally found the day job that made it easy, which was being a legal editor, because
Being a lawyer is much different.
much different, and I wasn't even in the kind of stressful job like your daughter has. It wasn't that super, but I tried running a nonprofit and writing at the same time, and boy, that was that was not.
Yeah, I think that's the secret. If you want to keep a lot of balls in the air, is to find a job that'll support you, but that won't suck all the juice out of your life.
Mhm.
And
Right.
there's sometimes that just can't be done. They're just jobs that do suck the juice out of your life. But if you're able to, for at least that period of time when the kids are young, or when you're trying to write a bestseller, if you're able to do that, it helps. And a lot of people just don't have that kind of flexibility. You're locked into your toddlers or your tenure track or whatever it is, and you just can't get out.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves, Bob has posted the link to Aqueduct Press on the side chat. And I believe we'll be getting Nancy's organization up in a minute too. And yeah, there it is.
Yay.
So
one of the things that you might do, Nancy, is to mention your group to somebody like Heather Cox Richardson, who is constantly urging people to do grassroots stuff. She says that the only solution to our current situation is for everybody to do stuff. The solution is going to rise up from the bottom. It's not
Yeah.
going to be imposed from the top by Jesus Christ or George Washington or somebody. It has to come from below, and that's us. That's you. And so maybe you should mention your group, just so that she knows that there's people who are actually, she does this all the time. She finds people who are doing this and she fishes them up and says, look at this, these great people.
Yeah, there are probably people who she's more like people involved that she's more likely to notice than me who are involved in.
But you're grassroots, honey.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
There's
important. It doesn't do any harm to I think that even if nothing more comes of it, if other people know that you're doing this, they can sit down and say, we could do something like this, only we would do it, I don't know, involving our quilting group, something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I do keep trying to bring it to people's attention on a regular basis. I hadn't actually thought about Heather Clark Richardson, although I read her faithfully every night, sometimes before I go to sleep, which is probably a really bad time to read her. But
she actually posts on at the bottom of those posts, is this a good one to read before you go to bed tonight? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes she'll say, read this in the morning, it'll otherwise give you nightmares.
Yeah. So, well, that's two of your careers, Nancy, and having found a way to combine your legal expertise with public activism.
Yeah.
What about this martial arts stuff?
Well, I just, I stumbled into a karate class just before I turned 30. And I wandered in and did everything wrong, and they didn't throw me out anyway. And I got hooked. And I studied karate for about 6 or 7 years. I switched over to Aikido, studied that the most. I still try to keep my hand in with that from time to time. I've been taking some Tai Chi and Qigong, and actually right around the corner from me now, at the church around the corner, someone teaches a Qigong class once a week, and I've really been enjoying that. It's, for me, and part of it is strictly the physicality of it. It gets to physicality in a way that nothing else ever did. I used to jog a little bit. My knees gave out on that like 30 years ago, but it was it's a community. I mean, that's the thing with martial arts. You end up with a community of it. It's physical. It has a practical aspect, but you don't stay with it for the fighting stuff. I mean, it's just not. It's a lifetime thing, and you don't have to be good. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not like a superstar. I could defend myself on the street if I needed to, which actually, mostly what that means is I walk down the street in such a way that people don't mess with me that much. Yes. And but the whole element of it is just it's a way of life and a way of approaching things that really spoke to my heart. And I know some people find that with yoga, some people find it with any other kind of activities. It's not like, and I guess it's also the other thing about it is I discovered from training as somebody who's, by intellectual, I was a kid who was always curled up in the book, I hated being in class. And the only thing physical I did in high school that I enjoyed it all was marching band. But it showed me, oh my God, there's this whole side of my body, the whole side of me, and I get to move. And I was Phil, you used to dance, so I know you know this. There's this whole physical side that I need that in my life, or things don't make sense to me. And so, it's like, I don't know, I think I'm probably talking about it sounds more like religion than anything. It is in some ways more like, I think I felt like going to class was more like going to church than it was like going to the gym. I mean, I like to go to the gym occasionally too, but that's not quite the same thing. Using your body it really speaks to me. So, it was like a piece of my life that needed to be there. And I think that's my problem, I guess, with juggling things is there are pieces of my life that need to be there. I feel like, if you're a citizen's not the right word. If you're a person in the world, you have to, we're a social species. You've got to deal with other people. There are things that need fixing. You want to be part of that. That can be so all encompassing and all consuming that you don't do anything else. you know, I am an intellectual by nature. I want to, anytime I want to figure something else out, I've got to write about it. So there's that. I mean, it's like all these different pieces, and you need a balance of them. I need a balance of them to stay sane. Other people, I think there are people who can be just focused on one thing, and maybe those are the people who become the superstars. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like the tennis players who do nothing but play tennis, and uh,
In I've started out in traditional publishing with doll books, and it was a good way to break into publishing because I didn't have to do anything but write.
right.
But like you, I needed other things. I am married. I had a child at home, and as well as working part time to supplement the budget. But all I really wanted to do was write. I didn't have to go through commissioning covers and copy editing and
Formatting.
pre-formatting and whatnot. But then Bookview Cafe happened about the time that my traditional publishing career was winding down. And I had not only had to do all this other stuff, I had to learn how to do all this other stuff. And when you're over 40 at that point, and your little baby boy has packed up and moved out, learning something new was good for me, but it was not welcome at the time.
And it helps a lot to have a group to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets us back around to Vonda again. It is really nice to have people to whom you can say, what the heck did I just do to this? Why does it look like this? And someone will come through and say, well, did you remember to take those 2 spaces out after every paragraph? And it to have people to do it with makes things much easier. There may be lone wolves in the industry, but most of us, as Nancy said, are really social beings. We need to do stuff with people.
Yeah.
It's so much more effective to do things with people. One thing I was thinking when you were talking about your activism work was that I kind of wish more of those organizations would post almost like job descriptions, because there's a lot of people who are like, I want to help, but the amount of work just involved in figuring out how to help. And if you get a lot of people, you can get a lot done.
Yeah.
There's like groups that do everything. Swear to God, all you have to do is find them. But it is you sort of have to luck into it. And if you don't find it, then you just don't get hooked up. So it's challenging, but
It's challenging because a lot of, especially like local stuff. Uh, I mean, what a lot of people do, a lot of what it comes down to is like going to a lot of meetings. And, I've gone to a lot of meetings in my life, and I really, I find them really stressful. And we were talking earlier about, there's only so much you can do in a day. And as you get older, it gets, more of it takes a little bit more toll on you, and you're wiped out afterwards. Uh, but if you want to keep the data centers out of your city, you got to go to somebody's got to be going to the city council meetings. And maybe if you're part of a group, then somebody can go to the meetings and somebody else can be doing the research so that they have the data when they go to the meetings and say, this is why we shouldn't do this. And that's, that is Unbreaking is really set up to do that. Like I said, because it came out of the COVID tracking, the people who set it up, it's got a real organized system, and the copy editors rule on the on how you do things. So you've got some structure there you have to follow along with, but you can fit yourself into it. And but I had trouble figuring out where I could fit into. I mean, I some friends we got together and gone to the food bank to sort food and stuff like that, and that's a good social type thing, but I don't know, it never feels quite as good to me as actually doing something more direct. So everybody's got their different things that work for them.
I'm helping at a food bank to sort food every other Tuesday, and
Yeah.
it is social, but it's really actually, people do not starve to death on the street. That's
Yeah.
not Whistle-Dixie, and it's astonishingly useful. I'm not one of the people who actually hauls the stuff out onto the street, but I have a Costco card, so I make the Costco run, and that's it is astonishing. There's an entire, at least in the Portland area, there's an entire culture and industry and network of people who are running food to people who need food. And you know it is so complex that it's sort of like an ongoing war, and there's continual armies of people doing this stuff, and somebody is in charge of it. It's not me, but it's astonishing, and we all just sort of squeeze in there and help.
But it is hard to find.
We have a senior advocacy, even our small community up here on the mountain. And you would be amazed at the number of people who show up day after day after day for the free meal.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of people who have four-wheel drive, everybody up on the mountain has four-wheel drive, but volunteer for Meals on Wheels,
Mm-hmm.
to take them out into the community.
Right.
I had just a one-time incident of I changed hearing aids back when they still had batteries rather than rechargers, and I had a whole sleeve of batteries that I'd bought at Costco that were no longer of use because I changed hearing aids that uses different batteries. I took it to the community center, and there were people falling over themselves in gratitude for a single card of 8 hearing aid batteries, because they were very expensive at the time. And to suddenly have a whole sleeve of, must have been 50 cards of 8 batteries that went out to people who they could
really needed them.
Yeah, they could buy an extra hamburger that month because I gave them hearing aid batteries.
There is the network is so helpful.
Right. And anything like that you can donate gives you an in into that community center, and you can find dozens of things they need help with.
Mm-hmm. There is an ongoing need. It really is.
Right. Especially Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
And I used them when my brother was failing. And it was meals. They weren't great meals. They were cafeteria meals.
Starving to death.
But they were nutritional supplements that were free. Mm-hmm. And the person who delivered them came in and checked their status. Do you need anything done around the house? Do you need help with your medication, putting your medications in the right pill sticks? What do you need? And they were there 4 days a week, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is a wonderful thing. They've cut Meals on Wheels here downtown in Portland, and it is not good. It was doged out.
Oh yeah,
assholes.
Oh yeah. At the before we moved to the mountain, we lived down in the Oak Grove area, mm-hmm. and our church started out having a potluck every Sunday afternoon and inviting the community who needed a meal. Mm-hmm. By the time we moved after 2 years, there was a waiting list of restaurants providing food once a week.
Good. There are people who are always willing to step up, and sometimes it's just coordinating the bits. My sister-in-law works for she's a member of a church in Southern Oregon. It's 4 hours south of here, and they are a much smaller community, and people donate food to their food bank. And she took on to herself, my sister-in-law took on for herself the job of organizing their storage room of food. And she found things that were going to expire like in 20 minutes. And she sends me emails and says things like, could you use a truckload of masa? We're never going to use this before it expires in this tiny community. And I call my church and I say, could we use a truckload of masa? And since you are in a city here, yes, they could use a truckload of masa. It'll go out, get cooked and eaten by the end of the week. So we get it up here and it's gone. So there's a flow of stuff around that is actually helpful. It goes to where it's needed rather than where it's going to have to be dumped.
Right. And we have a local church. When my brother passed, he was a hoarder.
Oh.
And he'd say a goodbye on Cheez-It crackers. And he had like 5 boxes of Cheez-Its that were within minutes of expiring.
Mm-hmm.
We have a local church that has a food bank. And a number of their parishioners only come to church because they want access to the food bank. But they go.
Yep.
And right. And
it gets into stomachs. That's where it's supposed to go. Good.
There's so much like this, and it's really, but it gets back to what we're talking about having those social connections. And there's so many different ways you can have those social connections. And we're here today because we have them within science fiction. but I think that's so crucial. And it's like, we're always saying, oh, well, we're all online, we're on the screen too much and all that. But this, what we're doing right now is a reminder that you can use those screens for good, that you can connect up people virtually, and it's also really useful and really works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you're disabled or older, if you're like Phil and you're not planning to drive 40 miles to visit people, it's nice to be able to just totter into your office, open the screen, and say, "Hi, Phil, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're down to less than 10 minutes. But Nancy, what are you writing now?
Well, I do blog every week at the Treehouse Writers, and that's that varies from, I write about. Last week I wrote about the fact that I'm not going to see the Odyssey and it's mostly because I don't care what Christopher Nolan thinks about Odysseus. I just don't care what he thinks about Odysseus. It's not a political thing at all. But I'm not a fan of Christopher Nolan. But I write about books I read. I write about whatever's coming up. I need that outlet. That's another thing. I need to write about something is banging in my head every week that needs to get out. But mostly I'm working on the sequel just for the good of the realm.
Good.
Doing it in bits and pieces. And all the there's a myth somehow that retirement means you've got a lot more time. It's like
No, I don't understand how we ever worked 9 to 5 and made money. Honestly, there's no time.
I don't understand how. Well, one thing is, the one thing I will say is I get enough sleep now, and I didn't do that when I was younger. I was terrible about not getting enough sleep. So, I'm a big believer in getting enough sleep. Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to know, though, since Clare was here, she mentioned poetry, and I wanted to know what she's doing with poetry, because I play a little bit with poetry too. I do like to write the occasional poem, and I know real poets. So
okay, so
and now you know another one.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're up, Clare.
Wonderful. Well, that's the thing I wanted to talk about, because I am a really big fan of the intersection of science fiction and poetry, and I dabble in it, and I know some some poets that are really, really, striking with their words, but I feel like that's a really underappreciated sector right now, because it's so well crafted and it's so striking, but it's not like what is easy to mass market. So I wanted to talk about after Worldcon, why I think poetry and science fiction make a really good intersection, actually, and maybe get another sci-fi poet or two in here. So maybe we can talk later.
There's a whole association of SF poets, a poet, SF Poetry Association. You know that.
There is, yes.
Yeah, there's always a group of everything.
There's
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know if she's published anything recently, but Ann Sheldon was sort of my introduction to that back when I lived in Washington, D.C. And she's got a couple of books out from Aqueduct, but also from very sort of not mainstream in the publishing world, small publishing houses that focus on poetry. And then I know my friend Diane Silver, who went to Clarion years and years ago, never did much with the short fiction, is now just blossoming as a poet. Gwen Garfinkel down in L.A., who, if you're going to Worldcon and you want to deal with poetry, Gwen's a good, but she writes novels and poetry. Another author. There's so many people doing, and some of the poetry is just outstanding. I mean, I'm no expert. I am very much with poetry like I am with art. It's like I don't know what's right or good, but I know what I like. So my taste obviously is very good because other people like it too. But yeah, there's so much of it, and Strange Horizons does a good job of publishing it. I don't know who else does. Do you have any, Claire?
Be Cubed Press, and Claire has a poem in one of our anthologies.
I do.
So do I, actually.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Myths also publishes science fiction poetry. I'm a big fan of theirs. But yeah, we have we do a lot of publishing over here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about next month.
Yes.
First Sunday in September. And so, Brenda, we're hearing bits and pieces of this all-consuming novel that started as a short story.
Oh well, that and this is another example of interconnectivity. There's a historical writers forum over on Facebook. And essentially, I rolled in there because I had been writing Victorian thrillers. There's 12 of them. Surely I'm a historical novelist by now. And they were going to do a small fundraiser. They were going to do an anthology of Christmas historicals. And I said, I'll think about it, because I usually don't write short, and it has to sort of take me, and then I'll write it. And at that moment, I was actually trying to write a novel set in the 1980s about. It was going to be about a midlife crisis of an older woman, and frankly, it was dull. And I was going to just have everybody like find combat robots and fight to make it not dull. And I had just gotten to that point when it hit me that Hamlet begins at Christmas. Hamlet begins Act 1, Scene 1 at Christmas. They're standing on the battlements of Elsinore Castle, and the guy says, well, Yule is a really good time of year. All, spirits don't wander because the clement influence of Christ our Savior's birth, etc. And the guy who is saying this in the play is so obviously an idiot. I mean, can we look at the next few lines, and the ghost of Hamlet Sr. comes up and says revenge, and the whole thing kicks off. So he's just standing there at the beginning of the play saying, oh, totally cool. No ghosts at this season of the year. And it's all going south like in a couple lines. So this is so great. It's obvious that this would make a great Christmas story, right? And so I wrote a short thing, and it's coming out because they're putting
I first it for you. I edited it for you. That short story.
Did? That's right. I sent it to you, and you said there should be more. And I said, by God, Phil is right. There should be more. And I sat down, and this was in April, beginning of April, and what is it now? It's just past July. I finished the novel last week. Okay.
Yeah, today is the 2nd of August. Yeah.
So I wrote more than 100,000 words, April, May, June. That's brutal. That's irritating. I'm annoyed by it, and it's enough to make a saint swear. And then I didn't really mean to do this, but the character said, "But come on, there has to be a sequel. In fact, it has to be a trilogy." And now so I have to. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to write another novel this year. What is it? It's August, September, October. I could do it, but I don't want to do it. I have other things I need to do with my life, and I wasn't even able to make eye surgery make that quit. Okay, so that was really bad. And so the eye patch. So I'm trying to. It is this at this point. It's sort of like drug addiction. You get in there, and you're doing that thing with Walter White and the crystal meth, and this is not good. So I'm. But I could think I should. I'm just beginning this second novel, okay, and so maybe it'll be okay. I'll just make notes, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, well, we're kind of out of time, but I'm going to grab one extra minute. I have just finished putting out 5 books in 5 months.
Oh,
Granted,
well, you already wrote them. That doesn't count.
4 of them are reprints.
Good.
But they still have to be previewed and studied, edited, and whatnot. Find new covers for them, write new back cover blurbs, etc., etc., etc. But Mama Sasquatch will be out September 22nd.
Exciting.
And I will be talking about it much more on our first Sunday in October broadcast. So over to you, Bobby.
Oh, yay, he's here.
Oh, I am. Well, cool. My camera seems to have lost me.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a piece of yourself we need to see.
Wow, something's funky. But anyway,
she's copywriting porn. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Nancy, it is so good to watch your or to hear the discussion about you and making your political stand.
Well, it's so good to find a place where I fit in, and I think that's key right now.
Well, it is. It's how do you say it other than just say it? We are living in a country where we have a evil, and I use the word evil in its truest sense, person trying to do nothing but enrich himself and his family at the expense of the country, and just doesn't care about it. Doesn't care about anything else other than making himself richer and
staying out of jail.
Bribing himself out of jail.
Yes. Well, that's that's what you need the money for bribes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the magic briber. I mean, look at just all the money that flows to him and his family. What is his personal profit this year alone?
Billions.
2.2 billion. You know what it takes to make 2.2 billion, honestly? It's almost impossible. Of course, Trump does it just by bribes. He accepts them. He encourages them. He takes them with liberty and glee.
It's the first thing he's found in his life that he's a success at, is taking bribes and getting rich that way, because all his other businesses failed.
Yeah,
and if you can juice the military news, by either declaring a bombing run or not declaring a bombing run, you can make the stock market yo-yo up and down and make money that way. Very nice.
Oh, the just the data that they've presented on his ability to affect the price of oil stocks,
right,
by whether or not he bombs. No, Trump is. I think Trump is planning on dying in office because he'd rather do that than die in prison. But and I don't wish him dead, but I wish him in prison.
I think that it would be nice if he lived until he was 90 and spent every one of those years in and out of court in litigation. And it would finally, of course, drive him to where he would either have to admit that he is senile and therefore not needing to be convicted and sent to federal jail, or to be convicted and go to jail. And that would be a really nice cleft stick to see him in when he's 90 years old. Don't you think? I'm mean.
I know. I'm not so much for cruelty as I am for. I want to see him and the people that empowered him and the people that paid him the bribes. I want to see them all held accountable and lose that which they bribed the president to gain.
I would like clawback of all the money that's in those accounts in Dubai and, Switzerland and wherever. I would like clawback and get it all back into the U.S. Treasury from where it was stolen.
Yeah, you got to get that. You got to admit that and what's it going to cost us? This is the part that scares the hell out of me. All of the things that he broke that were built over decades of hard work by people who cared about the country. How hard is it going to be to build them back? Because it's so much easier to break things than to build things.
The problem is,
well, you just look at like the reflecting pool. You can hire shit contractors to do it, but you could hire contractors who knew what they're doing. You could check their credentials and be sure they actually did that kind of work. That boring homeowner stuff, the kind of care you put into hiring a guy to resurface your driveway. You could do that. I could do that. I've had my driveway resurfaced. I know how to do that. This is ridiculous. The reason the jobs were badly done was because their criterion to do a good job was not one of the reasons why they were hired.
It's amazing to me how many of our politicians don't do like the most basic life responsibilities. I have seen multiple articles from congressional aides being like, yeah, the politician I worked for didn't get reelected, but he still called me being like, how do I make a doctor's appointment? I haven't had to do this for myself in decades and I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, oh, this is fine. This is not going to cause problems at all.
Well, no, you can, it's too easy to slide into that bubble of, I have people to do that. And at some point you don't have people. Well, it's just that if you have no sense of how regular people operate, then it's really difficult.
We
have the sense that your leaders are
our closing time, people.
Oh, yes.
Oh, come on. Don't interrupt her. Let her finish.
No, it's okay. Everybody knows this. It's common knowledge. It's really bad. We have to, other people have other things they need to do. I'm certain of it.
Yes.
I'm trying to retire, but I have things to do, places to go.
Yes, I have places to go and people to be. Alas.
Right. And
then
I have to hit the leave button. But thank you so much, Nancy, for showing up.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you, Claire.
Especially on short notice.
Yes, it is really great to see you. And Nancy, we are going to get together at World Fantasy and do something, right?
Right.
Claire, we're going to get together at WorldCon and do something, right? So yes. I have no idea how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it because that's what we have to do.
That sounds really good.
Right.
We look forward to seeing you all in person.
Everybody should come to World Fantasy if they can manage it, because those are two events that are probably not going to be held in the United States for the rest of our lives, which brings us back to politics again. But they're not going to stage another WorldCon or World Fantasy in the United States for a while. Let's accept that. So come this year. This is the last chance.
Thank you all for coming, and take care.